welcome to the today broadcast, Science of Dominion TV, with your regular host, Solomon Bamidele, on this trending topic, post-pandemic and your finance. The post-pandemic and your finance. We have in the previous broadcast, we have considered the advantages and disadvantages of being an employee, being a self-employed, going to business or being a business owner, advantages and disadvantages of investment. In an attempt to build yourself a safe haven in this economic weather or in this economic climate. As you must have known, in every climate or in every weather, you need a safe haven. You need to, whether it is rainy or sunny, you need to provide yourself an umbrella or a raincoat or boots. And if it's winter, you need to provide yourself a good shelter that will keep you warm, and so on and so forth. Likewise, in every economic climate, you need to decide what is going to be or what you are going to build as your safe haven in such an economic climate or weather. So that's why we're able to consider, so to help you to make informed choice or informed decision, whether you should go in as an employee or go into self-employed or go as a business owner or decide to go into investment in preparing towards your retirement along the way. So that's why we have considered those various advantages and disadvantages of those ones. Today, we want to see what type of business will I start? What type of business will I start? And business to avoid in this economic climate. What type of business should I start? Maybe that's what you are considering. Okay, I've decided to go into business. Now, how do I know the type of business to start? How do I know the type of business not to consider in this economic climate? Like we said, this climate favors certain type of business and it do not favor certain type. So some businesses are okay, while some businesses are prone to a lot of risk, carry major risk, and capital intensive here and there. So in order for you to be able to help you to make informed decisions on the type of business to start and the type of business to avoid in this economic climate. This is the reason for today's broadcast. So let's start. What type of business should I start in this economic climate? I must start to say there are so many different type of business and so many different kind of people. That is why it is very, very impossible for us to give you specific or particular type of business you should start. Only you will be able to decide and answer that question. But in order to help you to maximize your chance of success, you should consider the following factors. In order to help you to maximize your chances or your chances of success, when you are thinking or considering the business to start and the business to avoid, put the following factors into consideration. Number one, you need to answer this question yourself. Are you planning to go into a small scale business? That question you need to answer it. Are you planning to go into a small scale business or a limited liability or a corporation company? Are you planning to go into a small scale business, a limited liability, or a corporation company? A limited liability company or a corporation? You need to consider, you need to answer that question first. Whether you are going to a small business, a small scale business, a limited liability company, or a corporation. Well, you know, you cannot underestimate anybody. You may say, okay, let me start with small business. But if you have the capacity to start a limited liability company, why not? Why not? You may say, okay, people will say, okay, why don't you try out on a small business? If you have the capacity and the resources to start a large corporation company, why not? So only you can answer that question. Depends on your capacity and your ability and the resources available for you. So that's the first factor you need to consider. Number two factors you need to consider. You need to choose something that you enjoy doing. You need to choose something, a business that you will enjoy doing than when you are doing it. It is much more difficult and a lot less fun to make a success of a business, whether small or big, that doesn't interest you. It is very, very difficult and less fun to make a success of a business that does not interest you. If you are running, for instance, if you are running a construction company, if you are running a construction company and your heart of heart is into food industry, food production, drinks and stuff like that, you will discover that you will struggle in how to learn how to do construction, how to learn to read, to have the knowledge to make certain decisions, to know what to do. You will struggle. Any little challenges is going to be a frustration to you. Why? Because in the first place, your heart is not into construction. Your heart of heart is into food and drinks and stuff like that. But you're not going to construction, you are going to struggle a lot. So you may not be able to endure the challenges and the headache. You have to be making a lot of consultation. You have to be looking for the approval syndrome. You'll be suffering from what they call approval syndrome. People to approve your decision to see whether what you are doing is doing all here and there. And you are going to face with indecision most of the time because there's going to be a lot of suggestion, a lot of things coming for you here and there. People trying to encourage you from every angle because you don't encourage yourself. People trying to jumpstart you, give you various advice, various suggestions. So you'll be confused. So it's better you run a business that is of interest to you, that you have interest in. That's number two. Number three, choose a business you know intimately. Choose a business that you know intimately. Try to learn an industry or skill at the same time you are getting your business up and running. We have a lot of unnecessary stress to your new venture and lower your chances of success. Try to learn a new skill or a new industry. We add when you are trying to up and running your business, we had a lot of stress, a lot of headache to you at that point. The time you are trying to start to do up and running of your business is not the time to begin to learn about that business. It's not the time to begin to learn the skill. If you know you want to go into any business, it is better to acquire the necessary knowledge before you ever started. Get the necessary knowledge, the necessary skill, the necessary knowing how, the integrity of the business, all the necessary things you need to know before you ever started. So if you are going to a business, you make sure you know that business intimately before you ever start. Don't ever start a business that you don't know anything about. If you do it, you are going to incur a lot of costs because you are going to pay for a lot of consultations, consultancy service here and there, a lot of headache here and there, a lot of mistake here and there, a lot of trial and error here and there. It's going to be too much for you. It's going to be too much for you. So it's better you choose a business you know, and if you have to depend on people to come and approve, to come and guide you on what to do in that business, it's going to be a lot of time wastage because you have to wait for them. Those people, they have their own time. They have to give you an appointment, of course, here and there. And it's most likely some of the people you are going to call on as consultants, they may not necessarily be people that have ever run such type of business before. They just read it somewhere. I remember I went to a bank. I went to a bank one day in my country, I mean, of course, in this country where I live, I went into a bank one day and I asked the business. I said I should go and see the business manager. And I went to see the business manager. I told the man, I'm thinking of doing and so in this country. Can you advise me? The guy has never done anything like that before. So the guy just gave me a lot of, he said, well, I myself, it's not that I've done that piece of business before. I can only tell you what I've read. This is what the big book says. I'm only here to guide. So this is what the book says. But you know what you are saying? This is how it's not difficult. But why do you want to do this? When you are doing, are you going to profit on it? I say, oh God. He end up discouraged me. Because why? He has never run such a business before. He was just bring it as a business manager, maybe graduate, employ as a business manager. Never, he just read books, interpret books, theories, but not practical. So, if I myself I had to depend on such at the price of such an individual without knowing what else was to do about that business or knowing how, the technical knowing how of about that business, of course, I'm going to run into a lot of problems. A lot of problems. I'm going to run into a lot of problems. So you need to learn. Maybe, but for instance, you are the one that all your life you have been learning, you have been you have fantasy, you have passion for baking, pastry, and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, you want to go into business, and somebody say, "Oh, saloon, hair salon is booming. We're going to hair salon," and you just open up hair salon. Now, come to think of it, all what you have been learning before, what you know before, is about baking and bakery and pastry, flour, mixing of this here and there. So you going to Zadun, starting a Zadun business, no matter how lucrative it might be, it means you have to employ a business consultant. It means you have to employ some hair stylist here and there. It means you have to employ people to set up for you. It means you have to depend on people to guide you on the pricing, on the costing, on the charges, on the material, on the stuff to use. It's going to be too much. So you have to begin to learn people that and consulting people here and there. So it's better you start a business that you know intimately. You know intimately. So those are the factors that you can do. Number 4 factor. Choose a business that has good chances of turning into a profit. Choose a business that has a good chance of turning a profit. When you are considering running a business or starting a business, whether it's going to be small scale business, limited liability, or corporation company, you need to choose a business that has good chance of turning a profit, unless you want to run NGO or charity, what they call NGO in certain part of the country, or what they call charity in other part of the country. Depends on the languages that you are used to. Maybe sir, your own part of country you are used to NGO, non-governmental organization, or non-profit organization, or charity. They say charity means non-profit organization. So if that's what you want to run, fine. But if that's not what you want to run, what you want to run is a profit a company that bring profit. Then you need to make sure you choose a business that has a good chance of turning profit. You have to consider what are the possibility of profit margin. After the costing, after the material, the labor, the costing, the transportation, the overhead, and stuff like that. So what profit margin can I put to add to the total cost per product or per service? You need to consider all those things. So if at the end of the day, the profit margin is so low that those profit margin can be swallowed up by unforeseen overhead, increase and overhead, or unforeseen, unpredictable inflation and unpredictable stuff like this, which you have, of course, you have to be prepared for that. Then such a profit, such a business, you may have to have a second thought on such a business. You may have to have a second thought. So the best way to determine your business potential is to prepare a break-even analysis. Prepare what we call break-even analysis, or a financial projection that will estimate how easy, how difficult to turn a business. In this one, if you don't know what you call a break-even analysis or a financial projection, then this one you need to go and consult an expert. Maybe you are going to have an accountant, speak to an accountant. The accountant that know it well, not the one that just read book. People that have been dealing with businesses and they have been helping businesses to succeed. People that have been managing the accounting and the books. Bookkeeper that have been managing books and accounting of people that have succeeded in business. People that are thriving, excelling. not an accountant is there that is just trying out or just trying to come up. So don't let any accountant use you as a specimen or as a pilot to start out. No, 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 you don't need such. So you need such information. You need such information. You need to get the information, the break-even analysis or financial projection that will help you to estimate how easy or difficult it is to turn a business into profit. You need to consider all those things. Well, so which means you need to consider how good a chance for you to turn into profit, a business into profit. Okay? Very, 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 very important. Very, very important. Very, very important. And another thing you need to consider is liability insurance. Liability insurance, if you have to run, that's why I said in the first place, you have to consider whether you want to run a small business, a limited liability company, or a corporation company. If the company you want to run involve a kind of liability or carry risk. If the company you want to run carry risk, then it is possible that you are going to begin to incur a limited liability, some limited what you call liability insurance. And liability insurance is going to add to your overhead cost. So are you prepared for that? Are you preparing for that? So if the type of business, not even if it's a small business, if the type of business you are going to, if they are kind of business that very carry hazardous material, no, make edible good, care for the children, selling of alcohol, building and repairing structure, paper and stuff like that. Some of them just have to attract limited liability insurance or liability insurance. So if such business you want to do, we attract or we need you to register or to have what we call liability insurance in place. You have to factor that into consideration, whether you derive from the beginning of your business, are you ready to begin to deal with the government, with the law, with the insurance, with the compliance, with the liability issue. If you have the money, yes, why not? But if you don't have such headache, you are not prepared for that, then you need to know what risk does your the type of business you want to go into carries when it comes to liability, acceptance of liability. So you need to take note of that. Of course, the final one, you need to also know that this is very common. You said SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis. You need to carry out your SWOT analysis. SWOT. Of course, you are part of it, you have already discovered. You said SWOT. Number one, determine what are your strengths. Determine what are your strengths. Determine what are. Please don't mind. There's just a lady that's making noise. Just intentionally make noise. Please don't worry. Okay, if you can you hear that noise, please don't worry. Thank you, everybody. So you need to declare what are your strengths. You have determined your strength. Your strength comes from your ability, your capability, your finance. You have everything ready, your capacity. You know the resources are available for you, and every other thing like that. The neckline, how your networkings, all those things will be your strength. Even the location, the target market. Maybe you are targeting a market where the market is already available and people are in need of it. So all those things could be strength. Why? And you are the one that is first coming there. There are no other competitor. We're talking about that anyway. Then W, what are your weaknesses? What are your weaknesses? Maybe lack of enough fund, lack of technical know-how. That's how we say mention about those things. So what are your weaknesses? Too much of overhead, anything that could be a weakness, a weakness. Maybe you don't know about it and you just want to depend on people and other stuff like that. Maybe weather is a part of weaknesses that you are talking about. Maybe culture could be part of the weaknesses of. It's not only your personal weaknesses that tantamount prone to that business. So that business could be weather, could be the culture. Like I told you, like there are some products that will sell well in certain culture, and they may not sell well in certain culture. There are products that will sell well in certain environment, in certain weather, I mean no. So you have to consider all these things. Then what are your opportunities? That's what they call opportunity. What are the opportunities available for you? Maybe there's a ready-made market. Market is waiting for you. What? Oh, good, congratulations. So what are the opportunities available for you? Maybe I don't know that just coming up in this company. Maybe you have enough money, you have staff ready, you have warehouse ready, or other people that have they have machinery and everything. They are just taking over. All these things could be an opportunity that you are considering. There's a market already. You are taking over, you are inheriting, or you are buying over the company. All this could be an opportunity because there's already market and stuff like that. There's already networking, there's a line of marketing. So there's already networking of people you can use. You can help. All these things will help you. Now, and the final one is what they call threat. What are the threats? Weather could be threat. Culture could be a threat. Competitors could be a threat. Maybe they are so already competitor that are already making wave in that industry. So if that be the case, are you ready to how do you beat the market? How do you beat what do you need to beat them in terms of pricing, in terms of marketing, in terms of acceptance, in terms of penetration of the market, in terms of gaining your own space, in terms of occupying your own space and controlling and ruling your own, establishing your own space and ruling your own space, you have to consider all those. You have to consider all those. So what are the threats? So you need to do that. So if you consider all these are what some of the things you need to consider when you want to determine the type of business to run, the type of business to run. Okay, so how do you know what type of business not to go into in this economic climate? What type of business not to go into in this economic climate? Well, in order for you to be able to know the type of business not to go into in this climate, or the type of business to avoid in this economic climate, number one, you need to think carefully. There are some businesses that use hazardous materials, like I said the other time. If businesses use hazardous material, such businesses may require a lot of regulations, a lot of compliances, and how to attract insurance, liability here and there. So, and one claim or just one critics or complaint could jeopardize your business, can throw your business backward into 2 years, can throw it backward 2 years, 3 years. So for you to catch up, if you don't have the money, if you are not getting the ground already, you are just coming new, you can't manage such things to start with in a new business. If there are business that make edible goods, all these edible goods, there's a lot of compliance you have to meet up, regulations you have to meet up, certain percentage of content, all those things you have to find out. Children wears, the company, if you want to go into children wears, there are some regulations in certain countries. If you want to go and sell into alcohol, all those things you need to find out. If you want to, so anything that involves regulations here and there, compliance that attract a lot of compliance, that attract a lot of government intervention, government approval, environmental hazard, all those things. You have to consider them that such businesses in this economic climate, you may have to avoid them. Number two, any business that is solely depend and will be badly affected with government regulations or instability, political instability of a country or that environment, then you may have to think twice. You may have to think twice. If the politics, if a like some in some part of country, most places where we run the kind of party system on democracy, when we run part of party system on democracy, the government will come and serve 2 to 4 years, 5 years, they have to be replaced by another party, or that party will continue. If your business had to be solely depend, or the success of it or the profitability had to depend on you knowing the particular government or the particular party, and may not make the other party, because of their own manifesto, because of their own belief, because of their own philosophy, they may not favor such type of business, then you have to think twice. Because if not, if your business just succeeds and you are running for the next 5 years, and the other party comes in another 5 years, and they don't believe in such type of business, or they don't believe their manifesto, their belief, their philosophy doesn't favor such, then the line of business, it means you struggle, you go under. So some of these things you need to consider such as well. You need to consider such as well. So consider then the type of business that now in this period now you are hearing about of virus here and there and stuff like that. Therefore, businesses that will be badly affected by outbreak of virus, just like the one we just experienced right now. A lot of businesses were badly affected. Of course, that badly affected because we can't go out because they are considered as non-essential. Non-essential. So if you want to go into business, if you want to go into business that considered as non-essential, then you may have to be prepared that when there's outbreak or anything like that, You'll be ready to pack up your business clothes for your business for a period of time that people will not be able to need it, people will not be able to die, people will not be able to do it. So, are you ready for that? Will you be able to have enough capital to sustain all these things? These are some of the things you need to consider that if you want to go into business. In addition, there are some type of businesses that are particularly vulnerable to competition, including restaurants, bookstores, video rental, movie theories, grocery store, and internet and computing services provider. So if the node of course there's a lot of business that's very prone to a lot of competition, a lot of this, a lot of that. You need to consider that. You need to consider that, okay? Prone to competition, regulations, weather, culture, politics, and so on and so forth. Environmental challenges, and stuff like that. So consider all this. If you're able to consider this carefully, you will be able to, then if the business is much more capital intensive, you have such money in place, you have such money in place. Those also, it take long time for the business to break even. Are you prepared for that? So these are some of the things you need to consider before you be able to decide the type of business you can run in this economic climate. My name is Solomon Bamidele. I hope this information has helped you to be able to make informed choice, informed decision on the type of business to run in this economic climate. Well, Solomon Bamidele is my name. As soon as we finish, please visit my YouTube channel, subscribe, and press the notification bell. And you can go into my Facebook, my YouTube, and search for other topics that we have done, we have treated, even as far as impression, mental breakdown, lockdown, coming out of after lockdown anxiety, post lockdown anxiety. Because a lot of people are facing post lockdown anxiety nowadays. So all those topics we have treated them. We have treated. Just scroll, keep on scrolling, you find so many topics that interest you. Have a wonderful day. Be good. Until I come your way again. Today is Tuesday, Thursday. Thank you.